and welcome to this edition of Minstrels on the Block, where we bring you the finest singer-songwriters in the Valley area. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Julian Hernandez. Julian,
hi, Brian.
Glad to have you on the show.
I'm glad to be here.
So tell me about yourself. Where were you born?
I was born in a wonderful city called Manhattan, Kansas. Yes, grew up around there a little bit. But then I was in the military. Not myself when I was born, but my father. So I started in Kansas, lived around there, and then I moved all over the world.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Like how all over the world?
Oh, shoot. My earliest memories are living on a military base in Germany. I've lived in Puerto Rico. When I was young, I lived in California, the country of Panama. Not the city where people get naked during spring break, but the actual country south of Mexico. I lived on Fort Benning for a while. I lived, all over.
Cool. So you had a lot of traveling experience. Now your dad was military. Mm-hmm. Now, tell me about your family. Like, were they musical or?
Not really. I think Dad got a guitar sometime in his youth to be cool, but I remember him playing us a few little songs. I remember he would play Wild Thing for us.
Cool.
When we were young, and that was neat for us when we were youngins. But he wasn't like incredibly musical. We didn't have music in the house or anything. But we had a few little things. What I remember musically is all of the tapes. All the cassette tapes they had lying around. Yeah. I had a little child's tape recorder that I would plug in, I would put in like Michael Jackson or some mixtape with a bunch of 50s hits or like Def Leppard or something or whatever my dad liked at the time or my mom had old tapes of. So I had a very weird mix of early music when I grew up.
Cool. And even in today's standards, we have CDs today, but the really cool thing about tapes is you're driving down the road in your CD player and you hit a bump and it, I don't know how the modern ones are. My old one skips.
Yeah, I remember that.
Tapes never skip.
No, they don't. But they will. But if it breaks, they get tape everywhere.
Well, that's true. They do get eaten. That sounds familiar. Now, tell me about some of your experiences in your travels.
Well, see, the unfortunate part is I did all this when I was young, and so I didn't have that wanderlust or academic appreciation for places. Mm-hmm. So I just vaguely remember going to Italy and seeing like Michelangelo's David, and just thinking, that's a big white naked dude. Exactly. It was just I didn't care, but it stuck out of my mind because it was this behemoth of a statue. Because I was a little tot, Mm-hmm. And so I didn't appreciate a lot of these things. But I've seen the Panama Canal. You see these giant ships rising like inches an hour, and going by. It's like watching a building rise in front of you.
Yeah.
But it takes forever. So you go there and you're like, oh, the grandeur. Then you wait, and then you go find a conversation, come back, and you're like, oh, it moved. That's neat. Well, they fill up the locks and stuff. One of these great mechanical marvels of the world I live like right next to.
That is awesome, and that would definitely be a time for time-lapse photography.
Yeah. Oh, I think you can find them on YouTube. Time-lapse Panama Canal crossings, yeah.
Cool.
Because it just takes hours and days to get through those locks, But it's way faster than going around. Anyway, that's not a geography lesson. Geography time with Julian and Brian. Welcome.
In case you just come out of your stupor and have woken up.
Yes.
Now, your dad was in the military. What was his specialty there?
Well, he was early on. He was an MP. Mm-hmm. So he did a lot of regulatory actions. Like he went to Korea and Haiti and stuff, and he was in charge of defending installations and things and policing the other soldiers. Cool. So, but it meant that he was away a lot.
Yeah.
So I spent most of my time being raised by my mom, and when I was nearby, my grandparents, my grandmother, and stuff. So I like all of my relatives. But since I've moved to Columbus, I haven't seen them very much at all. Yeah.
So when did you move to Columbus?
I was in 4th grade when I moved here. I moved here because we lived in Fort Benning for a little while, and I moved to Panama. I started 4th grade there and came, so I think that's about 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was so strange, if you just get out of Department of Defense schools all over the world, and then you come to the South in public schools. Mm-hmm. it was a total change of pace, and I didn't adapt as well as my little brother did. He was younger. Yeah, he was more of a cool kid than me. I was a nerd. Yeah,
my dad was in the military, and probably a very similar situation. He got stationed at Fort Benning, and we've been here ever since. But by the time that happened for me, he was already out. I came along afterwards, so I didn't do any of the traveling. So I was just nothing but public school. But now, as far as like music is concerned, tell me, as far as your own music, how that started.
Well, okay. I took an orchestra when I was in elementary school, and in middle school I played like violin. But it was, I was a kid and I didn't appreciate it, and the teacher in middle school was just mean. She was mean, so I didn't continue with it. I don't know. It just became unappealing to me. Yeah. So after that, I just kind of went along my way. But like I said, I was kind of like a sheltered kid in my grade schools and my high school. And so I had this just all this different music coming into my head, but no real musical identity.
Right.
I think I would come to high school accidentally dressed grunge. I just had my favorite little flannel shirt, but I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
So towards the end of high school, I started getting CDs given to me, and I started buying music, and then it was like an academic approach to it. I sought out music. I got my own internet, and I ate up tons and tons of music. I did research. I became a huge musical culture junkie. So I have this survey course of all these all the history of music and the little bits from every genre. Yeah. And so I didn't get a classical education like most people would. They get into a genre, they're a metal guy, and they get into metal and they know all about metal, and they know all these artists and they know who their favorites are and such. Well, no, my CD collection and my MP3 player, goes through every single genre, all through times. I draw from everything, and so that's awesome. So it was pretty cool. And so then I picked up a little, a cheap red electric guitar because I wanted to play garage rock like Jack White, and I sucked at it. It was bad. So I put it down for a while, but then I started going downtown, getting into the music scene a little more, and I picked up an acoustic guitar. And it was way easier just to hammer on it, have a few simple chords, and I could write music. Yeah. And I had been a writer my whole life, so it gave me a chance to put my poetry to something useful, something more accessible. Because you can't do poetry, especially not rhyming poetry. Right. Yeah. You do music now. And rhyming poetry is lyrics now, and so that's what I am. I'm a lyricist and a writer.
And a really good one.
Well, I appreciate that, Brian. Thank you.
Not a problem. Now, okay, so how long have you been doing poetry?
Everyone has bad poetry when they're in middle and high school, so I started that. But I got really into it in high school. I did some school-wide poetry slams and workshops. I was in Dead Poets Society. I wrote short stories and just any number of things, and I got a lot of attention because I wrote poppy, entertaining poems. So whereas somebody would be more a student of the form or something, I'd be a fly boy. Yeah. I write a clever little poem about what it would be like for a computer to pick up a woman. Just using all these double entendres from the Windows 95 world. Yeah. And I got a lot of response from that. So I could win a poetry slam and get applause and stuff. But that's kind of how I started getting poetry and performing and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of poetry and music, let's go to one of Julian's songs, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Happen to see yesterday's paper with a picture of me. I was carrying on with a crowd all around. Yeah, they stopped to see who's making that awful sound. Oh, no, if you heard about me, but I'm a glory-headed geek, still fashionably. I got the right words to make you succeed, and a temperamental wisdom laying hard on my sleeve. Oh, Mr. Sir, come out here, please. We got a pretty little list in all the sequencing. Have you heard the mayor in the din of the town? Yeah, she comes to see the sights and dig right into the sound. Oh, we're the ones that nobody knows, and I guess you never been to one of our shows, but that's a rumor that everyone knows. They're all just children howling at the moon, howling at the moon. We're gonna rise up out of obscurity. We got a million little feelings that you're dying to see. We got the panacea you can feel in your dreams, and a brandy-coated bullet to the back of your knees. Oh, my heart is shaking to the words of my heart is beating to all that I heard. And when it's time to close everything down, we're gonna rip it off the handle and compete with the town. That nobody knows, and I guess you never been to one of our shows, but that's a rumor that everyone knows. We're all just children howling at the moon.